Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Film Mandate. And in today's episode in particular, this happens to be my 100th episode since I started about a couple of months ago. And I'm excited that I've been able to achieve this milestone. That is the 100th episode. So thanks so much for joining me throughout this journey of mine and for all your support, for following me and doing all that you can to keep encouraging me to bring you movie news reviews and reactions from the world over. So we'll be continuing with our stories as usual. And in this episode, James Marsden Cyclops have been talking about his recast feeling like a homecoming since he started shooting or acting as Cyclops about 20 years ago. He shares his thoughts on all this and more, and we'll be delving into those stories. And also, Jackie Chan, having received the Locarno Award, he talks about his legacy and how he ended up being a stunt uh, person or daredevil for Bruce Lee in one of his films. And last but not the least, we'll also be talking about the road to LA 2028, which has to do with seven African nations' journey to the Olympic tournament. These are more is what we'll be talking about here on the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Utu. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Film Mandate, where I bring to you movie news, reviews, and reactions, both from the African front and the international scene. So, thanks once again, and welcome to the this episode. So, in our very first story, we have, for all of us who have been observing keenly what is next in the roster of Marvel films. Yes, we've seen a couple of films having been, shown in the cinemas from the Thunderbolts to the Fantastic Four. But one of the things that most Marvel fans or most cinephiles will look up to is when we're going to have, the Avengers event film. And we got that in a two-parter where you have Avengers Doomsday, which will be followed by Avengers, Secret Wars. One of the things that we observed with close proximity was the fact that a number of old faces that we knew, even way before the MCU took shape, was cast in this particular um, Avengers Doomsday. And that is from the then Fox, 20th Century Fox universe. The X-Men, a lot of them have been roped into it. And one such person I've been talking about this, and that is none other than James Marsden. Also, finally feeling like he's come back home to the MCU. So it's been exciting for, I mean, for Marvel fans in general, but also for film lovers who like to watch film, a good film. And we can say without a shadow of a doubt that Marvel have been able to build one of the most successful franchise, even though in recent times they've had quite a little bump in the road. But even looking at what they've done, or well, some of the movies that have not been performing well, is still even far better than a lot of other productions have done. I mean, regardless of the fact that sometimes the story may not have gone well and all that. But one of the things that we have been anticipating for a long time is seeing certain characters interact. And for those who love the comics and have been reading the comics from way back, they understand the interconnectedness of how some of the characters interact with each other. And so I remember watching a lot of film pundits who said they never imagined in their lifetime, particularly when the Avengers released, to have seen this realized on screen the way It was done some years ago. So it is of no surprise when finally, when the announcement was made to bring back some of these characters, it brought a lot of excitement. And for me in particular, the excitement, I mean, just as James Marsden has said, for finally learning that a lot of these characters are connected and they live within a bigger universe. I mean, previous I didn't come from reading a lot of these comics, so I didn't know much. But the little I learned from, watching Avengers and now reading a lot of articles about this and a little bit comics here and there, I discovered that, oh, okay, so these characters are one way or the other related to each other in several storylines and issues in the comic books. And it is exciting that finally a lot of these characters will be, you know, playing against each other in Avengers Doomsday. At least we saw a little bit in uh, Deadpool and Wolverine. And the fascinating aspect of it is that we build some form of connections with the characters in the Century Fox universe. And, Marvel could have gone ahead and simply reboot and just throw in different people altogether. But I feel like Marvel listened to the fans in a way that would help them in this time that they find themselves in. Why am I saying that? When you watch Deadpool and Wolverine, one of the exciting things is the fact that we've seen that of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and we've interfaced with him throughout the films that we've watched in the X-Men through to Wolverine and then Logan. So we know that he is the established X-Man that we know in Wolverine. And it is quite difficult sometimes to see any other actor play, to epitomize the role of Wolverine as we have seen Hugh Jackman do. So it becomes a little difficult to even imagine someone else. So when finally Deadpool was also established and then bringing the two together, it made us really, it sort of brought in us the fanboy and fangirl in us to finally see the two interacting with each other. And I think that's what works most because not only are you enjoying, particularly if you read the comics and you know a little bit about how they relate to each other in the stories. I'm talking about a bigger picture where you have different characters coming together. It makes it quite exciting to watch them on screen. But what is more exciting is the fact that when you watch their separate films all together, and then they are finally brought together to be in one story, that nostalgic element makes it even more exciting. And that's what I think made Deadpool and Wolverine very successful, particularly when we started seeing a number of characters all, coming together from the Wesley Snipes Blade, Jennifer Garner's Elektra, X-23, even in the last Wolverine, who just showed up in just one film. We're excited to have her in there. And Pyro, who else? Chris Evans, what's the name? Chris Evans, I'm forgetting. Um, Chris Evans' Fantastic Four character. So that nostalgic element that brings all of us to enjoy this thing is what makes it a different. Casting a different person in that role, yeah, may be exciting, but then it won't be as exciting as having those established characters that we've had some affinity for come together in that role. And I think that's what made Avengers most successful during the time when we watched it. Because for one, that's why most people advocated that if you want to really build a universe, build it a Marvel way where you do solo films, and then when you establish these characters, the fans or the audience will be invested in them because then they would have known their stories, and then when you bring them together into an ensemble, we can now understand and relate and see how all these characters can, cope together. So I think that is what Marvel is doing, picking a page from what they've done successfully in the past to do Doomsday. The only thing is that we do not know much about Robert Downey Jr.'s Doomsday that is being done. And ideally, I've always said that there's no one formula to achieving something, or doing the filmmaking or bringing in a character. And I think it can clearly be seen in with regards to certain films that have been successfully done. I think for films like maybe Die Hard, Hans Gruber, we didn't know much about his backstory. But when he came into the film, he became one of the most, villainous, character we've ever had on cinema or on the silver screen. So I believe that the Russo brothers are adept at bringing out the best in the characters and may fully realize Robert Downey Jr.'s character without us even, thinking that we never knew him before. So I think it's very possible to get that done. But looking at how they were able to successfully do that for the first Avengers film, where we found ourselves understanding Thor, where Thor came from, where Captain America came from, where Iron Man is, and everything, it made us feel more invested in the film. And I'm sure one way or the other, they have a great plan that they will carry out and even make it more, give us a shock value that will relate to it so much that we will love it even more. So, talking about the homecoming thing, it does feel, for those of us who will be watching it finally come December 2026, we will indeed feel like, yes, they have returned home. And I'm sure they had a lot of fun, particularly when they had to act opposite all these people that you've worked with over the years. Currently, maybe the only main X-Man who was not announced to have been part of them is Wolverine. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see him that way. But regardless, he showed up in Deadpool and Wolverine. And even if it doesn't show up again, maybe he's giving us a taste of what we are to expect, or we should expect in Avengers, Doomsday. My only concern is that perhaps they will be given it. They wouldn't just be used as a plot device, one and dusted, but rather at least expand it a little bit and let them finally end their journey in Avengers Secret Wars, and they can call it quits. But I think this is I feel like this is really a good thing, because Marvel or Kevin Feige could have said, I don't want, to bring in anybody's take on the X-Men or any other characters. But I like the fact that he's been receptive to be able to bring in the characters that people have so come to love, and at least giving them the one last ride for us all to enjoy them, And I think if it goes the way it should, maybe box office wise, it may not be as successful as Endgame, but it can do at least within that territory of maybe Infinity War, because I think what you are doing, it's something that we've not seen before on or anywhere before, and I think it is so wonderful. I don't know how many characters will be in this film, but it's really going to be exciting, and it does really feel like a homecoming. That finally we will see the Magnetos, the Xaviers, and all the others interact and interface with all our other characters within the sandbox of the MCU, and that is what excites me. So I don't know what you think. Let me know what you think concerning what James Marsden has said concerning him feeling like he's coming back home. His character is finally home to the MCU. What do you think about it? Do you think is the right way to go? And do you think, let me ask this question, whether you would likely see Wolverine in the Marvel, Avengers Doomsday, or he's just done and dusted? Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this particular story, and leave them in the comment section down below. So moving on from our X-Men story of James Marsden, we move on to another icon, a film icon that has been delivering performances for us for over 50 years. I'm talking about none other than the tremendous, you know, multi-talented filmmaker that from the East. And that is, yeah, that's Jackie Chan in your short. So he had some exciting things to say in regards to his award and career, and the journey that he's been in for this long. So I, I thought I would read a little bit about the article and let's delve into what he had to say. So this is what he said: Jackie Chan on why he wanted to become the Asian Robert De Niro, bowling with Bruce Lee, and the difficulty of making good studio movies. And this is captured in The Hollywood Reporter, written by George Cizalai. I keep getting this name wrong, pardon me. Hong Kong and global film icon Jackie Chan received a Career Leopard Award on Saturday night and an enthusiastic welcome at the 78th edition of the Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland. And on sorry, in Switzerland. And on Sunday morning, the legendary multi-hyphenate shared insights into his career during a talk at the festival that drew a large crowd that started lining up outside the cinema well ahead of time. Chan recalled working as a young stunts guy with Bruce Lee on Fist of Fury. Bruce Lee tapped my shoulder and said, "Great." After several takes on a scene full of pain, he told the audience. Chan also shared how he earned much respect from people at a bowling alley when he brought Bruce Lee there, adding that he himself was a really good bowler. After Lee's death, Chan was asked to remake Fist of Fury, but it was the wrong script, wrong character, he felt. The film just didn't make any box office. The filmmakers wanted him to become the new Lee, with the poster even saying the new Bruce Lee in big letter, Jackie Chan, in every small print. The star said, "The director wanted me to do everything like Bruce Lee. I am not Bruce Lee." One of Chan's tips for industry longevity: always be open to look to change and evolve. For example, he said he learned to sing because whenever he showed up for TV interviews, hosts would ask him to do a fight sequence with them. "Singing is easier," Chan said to Laughs. Later in his career, "I wanted to be an Asian Robert De Niro," the star shared, explaining that TV and other hosts would always introduce him while making a martial arts gesture. "Nobody introduces Robert De Niro with a martial arts gesture," Chan said, earning laughs. So he wanted to become appreciated as an actor who can fight, not simply an action star known for his stunts. Only now they say Jackie is a good actor, Chan offered, and that's why you gave me this award. Will Smith and the Karate Kid remake gave Chan the chance to leave the fighting to the next generation. "I had become a master," Chan said about his role. Chan has always made action scenes look easy, but he always had respect for the risk. "I'm not a Superman. I'm scared every time I do a stunt," he shared. Chan on Sunday also discussed how studios today are focused on business and money more than the art of film, saying he hopes his career saw him make something more than money. Right now, a lot of big studios are not filmmaker. They are business guys, he said. Today, it's very difficult to make a good movie. While he has been known for his discipline, Chan shared that he was lazy and naughty, and "I liked fighting when I was young. Fighting was also a theme the day before. I am 71. I still can fight," the star had said in his Saturday awards acceptance speech to the delight of the crowd. Also, this year, I'm in the film industry for 64 years. As part of a tribute to his career, Chan also came to Locarno to introduce his films Project A, 1983, and Police Story, 1985, on both of which he worked as a star and director. As a Hong Kong cinema fan, I've written 3 books on Hong Kong. Jackie Chan is a dream come true. Locarno artistic director Giona A. Nazaro recently told THR, when they first unveiled Chan as this year's Career Leopard honoree, Locarno organizers lauded him as an Asian megastar, master filmmaker, and Hollywood mainstay beloved for action films that bridge the gap between the East and West. Added Nazaro, director, producer, actor, screenwriter, choreographer, singer, athlete, and daredevil stuntman, Jackie Chan is both a key figure in contemporary Asian cinema and one whose influence has rewritten the rules of Hollywood cinema. From his years at the China Drama Academy under Master Yu Jim Yuen, working at a very young age as a stuntman in whose masterpiece, pardon me, A Touch of Zen, Chan has continually reinvented martial arts cinema and much beyond it. Yeah, so that's quite an interesting article that I thought I should read. And there's something about Jackie Chan that you can't take away from him. He is indeed someone who embodies the craft of what I would say cinema and kung fu or martial arts. And there's one thing about him that I like so much, that he didn't choose to be the next Bruce Lee, because you watch any films of his and you know that Jackie Chan is exceptional. He stands out so much. I mean, not to throw shade at any other martial artist, but he chose a path that clearly distinguished him. It made him like a comedic martial artist. Not to say he's not serious with his art, but then he had fun with his martial arts, whereas most of the other martial artists were damn serious when they are performing. Well, I'm sure it's because of how the story demands them to be that way. But majority of them have had their own style of filmmaking or approach to acting when it comes to the acting and the martial arts. And a lot of them have had that approach from Yong Fat, Cho Yong Fat, and Bolo Young, Bruce Lee himself, Jet Li, all others, Jack. Um, I mean, I've forgotten some of them, but they all have their own form of approach. I think Cho Yong Fat, if I'm not mistaken, has always this pleasant demeanor about him, a smile about him when he's fighting, but he's also that serious. But Jackie Chan has had this approach where he's always comedic and very charismatic in his approach when he has to do, action sequences. And that's what he's been known for. And he sort of carved a career out of that. So it is interesting to see that when, after the demise of Bruce Lee, there's no surprise that the filmmakers at the time wanted to make him into the image of Bruce Lee. But it is really good that he chose to stick to what he does best, and that is being himself. And that is really excellent. And listen, he's contributed so much to cinema. Not only, I mean, aside filmmaking, he's actually also a musician, and he's done a lot, even using his musical craft to support his films. A lot of the songs that we hear in the films, the score, or hear somebody singing, is also one of them. Actually, most of the songs for the end credit is his, and that is quite exciting. He's a full blown out filmmaker where he does almost everything: directs, writes, produces, acts, does his own stunts. Without a shadow of doubt, he does his own stunts. And he ended up having one of the best stunts team ever in the world, most of which have gone on to help make films like the John Wick films. So it is quite exciting how this man has contributed for so long. And I'm even surprised to have learned that he's been in the industry for 64 years, meaning that he started acting when he was literally 7 years old. That is how young he was when he started acting. So he has really contributed so much to the film industry. And I'm happy that with all this, they found a way of honoring him. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more honor given him by so many films, award schemes who have seen how much he has contributed to cinema. And for those of us from different parts of the world, a lot of us were introduced to film through his films, actually. So it is indeed, he's really big I can assure you he's really big in Africa. I don't know about the States, but I'm sure even in the States he is big because just as the article says, he became a mainstay when he watched films like The Rush Hour that really established him as a force to reckon with from, bridging the East and the West and becoming a main, you know, figure presence in the East and I'm sure in the West. I'm sure perhaps as a result of that, it helped, you know, make Hollywood seek after more Asian filmmakers. That's not to say that prior to him they didn't do that. They did it. I'm sure with his amazing success in Hollywood, it brought more attention to a number of talent from the the East, and that is quite exciting. And I'm happy that he has received this award, and I'm sure there is still more to come. And he still have it in him to still do more movies. I don't know whether he's going to slow down a little bit on his Stone Daredevil antics, or not antics, but the Stone Daredevil performances in his films, which has caused him to break almost every bone in his body. So it is quite interesting to see that this honor has been given him. And honestly, I mean, I'm sure all the others that have been honored prior to him, they all deserve it. But there's no one who deserves it even more than Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan. He's done so much, entertained us so much. One of his films that most people can never forget is The Drunken Master. That was well, I wouldn't say that, but at least the little I know is that it seems like a defining film, in his career. That's what I think because it established him as a force to reckon with, as a martial artist and a comedic one at that, which had never been done before. I'm sure perhaps there are films that have that. Maybe he was not the first, but if for nothing at all, he did made it so popular and big that you cannot separate that art form from him. It's like Charlie Chaplin and the kind of comedic, stunts that he used to do back in the day in his films. So it is indeed a well-deserved award, honored and lauded upon him by the Locarno Film Festival. And I would like to say congratulations to Jackie Chan, and I'm happy that he keeps on entertaining it, and he's 71 years young. So I'm sure he'll still be doing some more movies. That I hope he will play it safe because we need him to be, you know, with us for so many years more to come. So it is indeed exciting. Let me know what you think about this award given him at Locarno, and what do you think about him almost nearly being made into the next Bruce Lee? Do you think that would have worked? Do you think also that would have been a clear mistake? Whatever you think about this, please drop it in the comment section below. And moving on from films, we move into sports. And we move into sports not because we want to talk about sports, but there is an interesting angle to which I'm covering the story. And for those who may have been observing, just recently, Cote d'Ivoire, that is Ivory Coast in Africa, organized an event called SICA, that brought together like a whole lot of filmmakers from all over the world to see what they have to offer. And that cycle also is an event for Ivory Coast to announce themselves as a film hub or a go-to destination for filmmaking, of which they awarded a number of filmmakers with some amounts of money to shoot their films. And at this event, two filmmakers went there and they presented a vision that they have for Africa. And it's quite exciting. And that's what brings in the sports element. And with the vision they have for Africa for a period of time between now to when Olympics will be taking place in Los Angeles 2028 is to create a 12-part, 24-minute docu-series that will, chronicle the journey of 7 African nations that will be heading to the Olympic Games to perform. And this is captured in the Variety article, and it says, and it reads that, the road to LA 28, the African Olympians docu-series, Eyes Pan-African Broadcast, and this is written by AC Asibu. Yeah, so the road to LA 28, the African Olympians. It reads that the road to LA 28, the African Olympians, a docu-reality series spotlighting African Olympic aspirations, was officially announced last week at the International Salon for Audiovisual Content in Ivory Coast. The project will follow athletes from 7 African nations as they prepare to qualify for the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. Though still in early development, the series is set for 12 24-minute episodes. Emmy-winning South African producer Dan Jarwitz and former head of the Africa division of South African sports broadcaster SuperSports, Gary Rathbone, who are at the helm of the ambitious project, are seeking additional broadcast and institutional partners to support the multi-year production. The series will chart the emotional and physical journeys of Olympic medalists and rising hopefuls across a diverse range of sports, from Africa's well-established Olympic disciplines like long distance running, boxing, swimming, and football, to emerging ones including taekwondo, table tennis, volleyball, and rugby. Additional 2 1-hour specials are planned for release after the 2028 Games to capture the athletes' Olympic experiences and their return home. For now, the series will feature athletes from Ivory Coast, Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Ethiopia, Kenya. Bajorowitz says that a few more may make the podium. We chose Saika in Abidjan to launch the show because Ivory Coast has a great sporting tradition and has already proven themselves as Olympic medal winners and will thus be an integral part of the story we tell, said Rathbone. Carl Bolua, a networking manager at Saika, welcomed the project's announcement, saying, "We are very honored that the producers have chosen Saika to launch the series and to use our platform to reach broadcasters and other organizations." Thanks to productive meetings at Saika, the team is now in discussions with several key broadcasters, including Canal Plus International, SABC, RTI Cote d'Ivoire, RTS Senegal, KBC Kenya, ZBC Zimbabwe, and Max TV Ghana. They are also in talks with African Union of Broadcasting to distribute the series across its network of more than 40 member countries. So there you have it, the producers of the idea in the short below. Yeah, so it is indeed an exciting project, I must say. And in an era where content is king, where a lot there's a lot of connectivity everywhere via the internet and streaming platforms. It is indeed a wonderful project, seeing that sports is one area that a lot of people have passion for. You know, when it comes to sports, you can be rest assured that you have the attention of the world, regardless of which sport and activity it is. Football is perhaps, well, it depends on which part you come from, but the World Cup, the world over, the football or soccer happens to be one of the biggest sporting events in history every time. And for an Olympic event, it goes beyond just soccer. You have several sports included or involved, just as the article, espoused. And for they to create a content around their sporting activities is very interesting. Seeing that nations whose teams are going to be covered in this documentary will be watching eagerly to see their preparation process and lending the necessary support. As a matter of fact, it may also serve as an opportunity for these countries to receive the necessary support, be it sponsorship or not even just sponsorship, but to receive the necessary morale by from their own homegrown support or home nations. So, and this may also even be an opportunity for them, the nations, to know their sports people very well. And I think that is an amazing thing to do. And it may also give a lot of exposure to these African Olympians, to the entire world. And that is what I think is wonderful about this project. And one exciting thing I think is that it may whip up a lot of people's interest, especially for those who may not even have interest in Olympic Games. This may give them an opportunity to know more, or if you want to know more or get involved in watching these sports when it finally take place in Los Angeles 2028. So I think it's a wonderful project that they are embarking on. And I think it's also timely because I'm hoping that this will just be one of the projects. Just imagine what they are able to also do with regards to, soccer, when the World Cup itself also takes place in North America. And I think, in North America when that time comes. So it is a wonderful idea with regards to this project, saying that it will highlight these seven nations, give them more highlights. And even though their target is to show it to the African, on the African continent, I believe that when it's that good, it can be shown anywhere in the world. And obviously, to have an Emmy Award winner, pioneering this project, quality is something assured. And I know for sure that it will be that good and also give the necessary mileage that all these people need attention for. But one of the things that also I'm excited about is the fact that their relentless push in getting as many stations as possible, many TV channels or streaming channels, platforms to broadcast it on is what excites me, even though they've not even started production yet, because they are still at the early stages of conceptualization and other stuff. But they are already embarking and pushing on to get the necessary networks so that immediately they are done, it has the widest coverage possible. I think that is really good. Looking at the fact that sports is loved by a lot of people and not just only one sporting activity. We're talking about several sporting activities that a lot of people are passionate about. So I think it's a really great project. What's the name again? The name is what? The Road to LA 2028, and that is really exciting. And I don't know whether these projects has ever been done before, maybe on this scale. Where they are going to cover 7 African nations and possibly more. So it will be quite interesting to see it come to fruition and how to play out on screen. And that will be an exciting project to take a look at. I can imagine if that is then after they did do this, and same is done for the World Cup, for soccer or football. That will be also an interesting thing, docu-series that people will follow eagerly, particularly in Africa, because when it comes to football in Africa, people are really passionate about it. I mean, they are zealously passionate about it. I don't know how whether that describes the excitement when it comes to football in general. So you can imagine if a docu-series is done on these national teams and it's aired in these very nations, it will be something else. It'll be something else. But that's a great project that they are embarking on, and it's exciting to see to have these ones with much expertise, from Super Sports and the other an Emmy Award winner. I think the project is something that will be really good and very promising to bring much needed attention to these African Olympians. So let me know what you think. I'm sure if you're a sports fan, you're already excited about this development. And let me know what you think about this docu-series. Would you be eagerly waiting to watch it when it finally is ready and airs? And what do you think will be the benefit of this docu-series when it's finally released on channels all across Africa? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. So finally, I've actually wrapped up my stories for today. Coming over from a weekend, you definitely know that I won't end this Monday's episode without looking at some of the films and the money they made over the weekend. So moving on first to the North American market, we're going to take a look at the films that made money over the weekend in the Box Office Mojo, on the Box Office Mojo website. So we're going to take a look at just the 10 top films. And at number one, the domestic box office between the dates 8th to 10th of August, you have Weapons opening the first day, the first weekend, and it's made $42.5 million. At number two, Freaky Friday also opened to $29 million. Number three, dropping from number one, is the Fantastic Four First Steps, and it has made $15.5 million, now making a total domestic of $230,412,709. And at number four, we have The Bad Guys, which dropped from number two from last week, and it has made $10.4 million this week. And the total is $43,409,480. Number five, dropping from number three of last week, The Naked Gun has made $8,375,000. The total domestic is $33,009,738. And number six, Superman has dropped from number four, and it has made $7.8 million, and a total domestic of $331,243,139. Number seven from number five is Jurassic World Rebirth, and it has made $4.7 million this weekend, and a total of $326,800,075 for the domestic. And number eight from number seven is F1 the movie, and it has made $2,835,426, and the total domestic is $178,581,000. Number nine for number six is Together, which has made $2.6 million, and a total domestic of $17,210,661. last but not least is Sketch, which has made 2,527,285, and that's its opening weekend numbers. Yeah. So and actually also, I'm sure it had a pre-weekend release, and it has also actually made a total of $5,018,691, and that is from Angel Studios. So this is not the exhaustive list. However, I'll leave the link in the comment section, in the description below, if you want to take a look at all the films that made money this particular weekend. And so moving on from the North American box office, let's move on to the worldwide box office for this weekend and see what movies are performing well. So, as usual, the biggest film for the year, well, as reported by Box Office Says, is Nezha 2, and it's $1,899,873,280. Behind us is Lilo and Stitch, which has made $1,025,453,027. At number 3, we have a Minecraft movie, which has made $955,149,195. Number 4, we have Jurassic World Rebirth, which has made $799,984,075. Number 5, we have How to Train Your Dragon with a total of $623,519,805. And number 7, you have Superman with $578,843,139. And number 8, we have F1 the movie, which has made $570,681,000. And number 9, we have the Fantastic Four First Steps, which has made $434,221,709. Last but not least, on the top 10 is Captain America Brave New World with $415,101,557. So this wraps up the top 10 films worldwide that was performing very well at the box office. So all too soon, this particular live stream comes to an end, and thank you so much for joining me for this episode. It's been quite difficult because of I had a little cold, so pardon me, for how slow and sluggish my voice has been. Pardon me for that. But this being the 100th episode, I couldn't just lay back without getting this episode done. And finally, we have made it. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Film Mandate. I'm so excited, and I'll be beginning another journey, for the next 100th episode. And I'll be looking at you to support me throughout this journey, and let's make memories together. Let's talk about movies. Let's review trailers. Let's review films and talk about it. So this has been the Film Mandate, and my name is Papa Otu. I'll come your way again with the 101 episode tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.